This was going to be an entirely different video than it turned out to be. I originally just wanted to compare the damage per second of the two new weapons in Sea of Thieves to the old ones. This turned into a different sort of damage testing that I didn't really expect. I learned something new and corrected some false assumptions I had about this game, even after almost 3,000 hours of gameplay. So, stick around, come along this journey with me, discover some hidden secrets of the weapons of Sea of Thieves. As I just stated, the first thing I wanted to test was the damage per second of these new weapons. The old ones have reload times and damage numbers listed on the Sea of Thieves wiki, so these were pretty easy to calculate. For the new ones, I did my best to shoot, stab, and throw them as fast as possible, then watch the video back to figure out how fast their fire rate actually was. I also did the same thing for the Trident, and considered doing the Ashen Wind skull and the Skull of Siren Song as well, but got sidetracked by this other rabbit hole I went down. So, if you're interested in the DPS for these skulls, let me know and I can look into that next. For cannonballs, I use a damage value of 100 since they can one-shot players, and a fire rate of one shot every 2.27 seconds. Since the solo record for completing Ashen Winds took him 44 cannonballs in 100 seconds. Using this data, we can start graphing the damage per second of each item. Not surprisingly, cannonballs came in first with 44 damage per second, but throwing knives came in close second at 42. It makes sense that they'd have a high DPS to compensate for them being hard to hit when thrown. The next few weapons make sense as well, with the blunderbuss coming in third, the sword 3-hit combo being slightly better than the sword lunge, followed by the flintlock and then the Eye of Reach. Then comes the Trident, which I guess makes sense as is best used as a spawn camping tool. You charge up to a 90 damage bubble and then release it as somebody spawns, then try to finish them with your primary weapons. It takes about 5 seconds to fire both shots and then reload both again, which is pretty awful compared to the other weapons. So it's best used when you only have to use 2 shots and then swap back to your other weapons. For example, it can be good to follow up after a sniper hit because you have 2 chances to hit the killing blow instead of just 1. After I calculated the DPS, it got me thinking, what if cannonballs actually do more than 100 damage? And how much damage do tridents actually do to PvE bosses? I had read on the wiki that tridents get a damage multiplier against PvE, so I wanted to check that out to see exactly what it is. So I got to testing again. The first thing I did was kill an Ashen Winds boss with just sword swipes to get a good estimation of how much HP the Ashen Lord has. And I can divide that by 44 to see how much damage the cannonballs were doing. To my surprise, it only took 120 sword swipes. I know that the sword does 25 damage per hit, so the boss must have around 3000 HP. This didn't really make a lot of sense, because that means each cannonball shot only did around 68 damage to the boss. But this could potentially be contributed to not every shot hitting them directly, but it still got me curious to test more weapons. I knew that the throwing knives had a really high DPS, and I really enjoyed using them, so I wanted to test those next. Something even crazier happened. It took me almost 200 knives to kill the boss. Each throwing knife is supposed to do 60 damage, so that would put the boss at 12,000 HP. 4 times what I got with the sword. I kept testing and found that the sword lunges, the flintlock, the Eye of Reach, and tridents all come out to the boss having around 3000 HP. The surprising one for me was tridents, because they were supposed to have a damage multiplier. But it took around 100 small bubble hits, and each one does 30 damage, putting the boss's HP at 3000. The blunderbuss took 49 shots, which would put the boss at 4900 HP. It also took me 195 throwing knife heavy attacks, and a crazy 300 shots from the double barrel pistol, and then 900 throwing knife quick stabs. I can now compare the supposed damage from each weapon and compare it to their damage needed to kill a boss, to get a percentage of how much damage is supposed to be applied compared to what actually is applied, using 3000 HP as a baseline. Like I had mentioned, tridents, swords, flintlock, and Eye of Reach all acted as expected. Cannonballs came out to 68%, like I said, but that could potentially be attributed to some of the shots not being direct. But then the blunderbuss comes in at 61% of what it should do. The double barrel pistol does 31%, and then the throwing knives do 25 when thrown, the heavy attack does 22%, and the stab only does 19% of what should be done. If the boss has 3000 HP, and the stab is supposed to do 18 damage, then it should take around 167 stabs to kill the boss, not 900. Lastly, we can figure out how long it takes to kill a boss with continuous attacking. This will be pretty hard to replicate in game because you're always going to be taking time to eat, avoid the attacks, and find more ammo. The sword combo is actually the fastest at 97 seconds. And second, like I said, the cannonball record is 100 seconds, so we can use that as its time to kill. This is pretty much the only one where you can get away with continuous attacking, since you are out of range of the boss's attacks and the cannonballs seem to stun him a little bit. Lunges are close behind at 104 seconds. Then we have the flintlock, blunderbuss, and eye of reach all next to each other between 128 and 134 seconds. This could be why they nerfed the blunderbuss for PvE, because they wanted it to be in line with other weapons. If it did its full damage, it would be in first place at 82 seconds. Tridents take 149 to 173 seconds, depending on how long you charge them. And this kind of surprised me because, like I said, I thought they were the best way to go when you didn't have kegs or cannons to kill a boss because of that damage multiplier. But it just doesn't exist. However, the AoE damage from a tier 3 bubble can clear out a lot of extra skeletons while also doing 90 damage to a boss, so there are some benefits to using it. Throwing knives have the best DPS of all equipable weapons, but they come in at 281 seconds of continuous throwing. And then the slowest way to kill a boss is with a double shot charged double barrel pistol shot, coming in at 12 minutes and 50 seconds of continuous firing. To show how bad it is, I killed a boss with just the single shot double barrel as the background for this video, and I'm not even able to kill him by the time it's all over. It took me 20 minutes to complete because of the time spent eating, killing skeletons, missed shots, and hit rig. It took me 60 shots just to get him down during the first wave. I also found out that this happens when he has lost about 20% of his HP, and goes down a second time at around 60%, which also goes against what the wiki says. The wiki states that the first wave ends at 50% of his HP, and 75% for the second wave. So you can't always trust what you see online. Even this video. Feel free to go test things for yourself, try different bosses and different crew sizes, see what you notice. Let me know your findings in the comments. These damage values on the new weapons are pretty awful and need to be adjusted to be more in line with the other weapons if Rare wants them to be used. I don't know how something like this could be added to the game in the first place. These weapons are fun, especially the throwing knives in my opinion, and I want to use them in PvP and PvE, but right now the sword is the best option, and the two new weapons don't even come close. If you made it this far, want to give it a like and a subscribe, especially if you learned something new. I post content like this about Sea of Thieves and Overwatch. Most of my videos take a while to make, so I'm only able to post a couple times per month. If you're one of my Overwatch viewers, I've got something new for you guys coming next, so don't worry. And for Sea of Thieves, I'm still in the process of getting data on Hourglass for my next video on this game. But I'm kind of sick of the mode, so it might be a little while. Thanks for watching. Peace out.